Boundaries in relationships are the invisible lines that help distinguish our individuality from others in our social and personal networks. They allow us to express who we are and how we would like to be treated by others. Just as physical boundaries protect the integrity of a nation, personal boundaries safeguard our emotional health, helping us define our sense of self and maintain our autonomy in relationships. Just as a boundary marker clarifies the limits of a property, personal boundaries clarify the limits of personal space and acceptable behavior. Setting these boundaries within various relationships, with family, friends, colleagues, and romantic partners, can often determine the quality and health of these interactions. Despite their critical role, many individuals struggle with setting or maintaining boundaries, which can lead to feelings of resentment, exhaustion, or being taken advantage of. It's essential to understand where these difficulties stem from and how they can be resolved. Coming up, we'll discuss the psychological foundation of boundaries, a brief historical perspective, how to identify problems with boundaries, and strategies to set better boundaries. Follow along with our time-stamped key moments in the description below. We've broken the video down into chapters so that you can easily follow along or skip to a section that is of interest to you. Let's begin with, what are boundaries? Boundaries serve as the essential framework for navigating life's complexities, safeguarding not only our physical safety, but also our emotional and mental well-being. They are the invisible yet indispensable lines that delineate the contours of our relationships, setting the parameters for acceptable conduct and protecting us from harm. Understanding the need for boundaries begins with a deeper exploration of human psychology. The evolution of boundaries is a dynamic process, influenced by a myriad of factors including culture, upbringing, and personal experiences. From the moment we enter the world, boundaries begin to shape our experiences. In infancy, we learn about physical boundaries as caregivers establish safe spaces and limits to ensure our protection and comfort. As we grow, our understanding of boundaries expands to encompass emotional and mental realms. Through interactions with family, friends, and society, we internalize norms and expectations that inform how we relate to others and ourselves. We learn through trial and error, sometimes encountering situations where our boundaries are tested or violated. These experiences offer opportunities for reflection and growth, helping us refine our boundaries and assert our needs more effectively. In adulthood, boundary setting becomes increasingly crucial as we navigate complex social dynamics and interpersonal relationships. Establishing clear boundaries enables us to cultivate healthy connections while protecting ourselves from manipulation, exploitation, and emotional harm. However, this process can be challenging, requiring self-awareness, assertiveness, and the courage to enforce boundaries even in the face of resistance or disapproval. Ultimately, understanding and respecting boundaries is fundamental to fostering mutual respect, trust, and reciprocity in relationships. By recognizing and honoring both our own boundaries and those of others, we create environments where individuals feel valued, heard, and safe to express themselves authentically. Embracing the ongoing journey of boundary exploration and refinement empowers us to cultivate deeper connections, enhance our well-being, and live more fulfilling lives. Renowned psychologists like Freud, Jung, and more modern thinkers like Townsend and Cloud have studied these patterns, emphasizing that boundaries are not only protective, but also foundational to psychological health and maturity. Historical psychological discussions have emphasized that effective boundaries contribute to a well-defined self-concept, which is crucial for psychological development. Boundaries help in distinguishing personal identity from others, playing a pivotal role in our interactions and psychological resilience. In understanding the psychological foundations of boundaries, it becomes apparent that lacking clear boundaries often results in emotional dysregulation and relationship difficulties. This insight encourages a closer examination of personal boundary setting as a therapeutic tool and a proactive approach to mental well-being. Historical perspective on boundaries. The concept of boundaries has evolved significantly throughout history. Boundaries are not fixed in stone, they must adapt as circumstances evolve and relationships mature. This is particularly relevant in enduring relationships. Effective communication is crucial when reassessing and refining your boundaries. It's essential for the other person to understand the adjustments and the rationale behind them. In ancient societies, boundaries were primarily physical and tied to land ownership and familial hierarchies. However, the intellectual evolution through the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and into modern psychology has shifted this focus to more abstract boundaries, such as those in our interpersonal relationships. This historical evolution reflects the changing understanding of human relationships and individual rights. Today's conceptualization of personal boundaries is heavily informed by these historical shifts and the advancement in psychological sciences. This part of the narrative not only provides an understanding of how boundary notions have transformed, but also how they relate to current practices in setting personal and relational boundaries. This perspective is crucial for appreciating the current emphasis on personal efficacy and autonomy in relationships. Now let's discuss several of the prominent types of healthy boundaries. Physical boundaries. Establishing physical boundaries is essential for maintaining your comfort and safety, whether you're engaging with strangers or loved ones. For instance, expressing a preference for handshakes over hugs communicates your personal space needs. Similarly, informing a friend of your need to rest during a lengthy bike ride respects your physical limits. Additionally, setting boundaries around your personal spaces, such as your bedroom or office, ensures that they remain inviolable and clutter-free according to your preferences. Sexual boundaries. Sexual boundaries encompass a spectrum of actions, ranging from seeking consent before engaging in physical intimacy to regularly gauging your partner's comfort during sexual encounters. Regardless of the duration of your relationship, it's crucial to maintain open communication about your preferences. It's prudent to periodically review and discuss limitations and expectations regarding aspects such as the frequency of sexual activity and contraceptive practices. Emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries serve to safeguard your emotional well-being and personal comfort. When establishing these boundaries, you could express, "I prefer not to discuss this topic during work hours as I need to maintain my focus." These boundaries also help shield you from becoming overwhelmed by the emotions of others. For instance, you can recognize that you are not accountable for how someone reacts when declining a second date with them. Material and financial boundaries. Your material and financial limits encompass your possessions, including money, clothing, vehicle, and home. If you're inclined to be charitable, refusing requests to borrow items may prove difficult. Yet some individuals might exploit your generosity, leading to feelings of resentment. Establishing clear boundaries is crucial. For instance, you might specify terms like, "Feel free to use my car, but kindly return it clean and safely," or simply state, "I'm unable to lend out my car." Time boundaries. Setting boundaries with your time empowers you to prioritize both your professional and personal commitments without feeling overwhelmed by external demands. Consider this scenario. After a demanding week at work, you crave a restful weekend. You might politely decline a social invitation or establish a time limit for your attendance. Similarly, you might request that friends and family refrain from calling you during your work hours. Identifying problems in boundaries. Recognizing boundary issues is the first step towards corrective action. Common signs of boundary problems include feelings of resentment, discomfort, or being overwhelmed in relationships. These symptoms often result from either overly rigid or excessively porous boundaries. When boundaries are too strict, connections may suffer due to a lack of vulnerability and intimacy. On the other hand, if boundaries are too loose, one might find themselves overextended, unable to say no, or consistently prioritizing others' needs over their own. Understanding these dynamics is key to identifying where boundary adjustments are needed. This recognition can often lead to significant personal insight and the initiation of change, paving the way to healthier interactions and self-respect. Once problems are identified, the next step is to establish effective boundaries. This involves clear communication, assertiveness, and consistency. Setting boundaries is not about control over others, but about controlling one's own interactions. Effective boundary setting starts with self-awareness, understanding what you can tolerate and where you draw the line. Communicating these boundaries clearly, calmly, and assertively ensures that others understand your needs. Consistency in enforcing these boundaries also reinforces their seriousness, helping others to respect them. Tools such as I statements, for example, "I feel overwhelmed when you expect me to meet all your demands," can be particularly useful. These strategies respect both parties' needs and foster mutual understanding and respect in relationships. The emotional benefits of well-defined boundaries are extensive. Individuals with clear boundaries often experience less anxiety, reduced stress, and greater emotional energy. They possess a stronger sense of self and are more adept at navigating interpersonal dynamics. This emotional stability arises because boundaries allow individuals to prioritize their needs and emotions. They provide a framework for understanding and communicating personal limits, which in turn leads to more fulfilling and less conflicted relationships. The emotional autonomy gained from effective boundary setting promotes overall mental health and well-being, illustrating the intrinsic value of understanding and maintaining personal boundaries. From a relational perspective, boundaries contribute to deeper and more meaningful connections. They foster respect, trust, and mutual understanding among individuals. When each person's boundaries are acknowledged and respected, it reduces conflicts and builds a healthier, more supportive relationship dynamic. Healthy boundaries enable individuals to engage with others without losing their sense of self or feeling the need to compromise their values. This balance is crucial for long-term relational success and satisfaction, highlighting the importance of boundaries in creating sustainable and enriching relationships. Effective communication is at the heart of setting and maintaining boundaries. It involves not only articulating one's own boundaries, but also being receptive to the boundaries of others. This dual focus fosters an environment of respect and empathy, which are pillars of any strong relationship. Strategies like active listening, respectful questioning, and nonverbal communication cues play significant roles in this process. By using these tools, individuals can better understand and respect each other's limits, preventing misunderstandings and fostering a climate of mutual respect. Boundary violations are inevitable, but how they are handled can significantly impact a relationship's health. An effective response involves reaffirmation of boundaries, open communication about the violation, and if necessary, consequences for repeated disrespect. This process requires resilience and may sometimes involve difficult decisions, such as distancing oneself from persistently disrespectful individuals. Handling violations promptly and decisively is crucial to maintaining one's dignity and the integrity of one's boundaries. Boundaries within family and work relationships have unique challenges due to their intrinsic power dynamics and emotional complexities. In these settings, boundaries must be navigated carefully to maintain professionalism and personal integrity, while fostering healthy familial or professional relationships. Specific strategies such as defining roles, responsibilities, and expectations can help in clearly setting boundaries in these contexts. These measures not only prevent conflicts, but also support a collaborative and respectful environment. In conclusion, mastering relationship boundaries is a continuous journey of self-discovery, communication, and adjustment. The ongoing evolution of personal and social dynamics will always present new challenges and opportunities for boundary setting. Future research and discourse will further refine our understanding of boundaries, enhancing our ability to foster healthier, more fulfilling relationships. This exploration not only benefits individuals, but also enriches the broader societal fabric, underscoring the universal importance of well-established boundaries. This video has aimed to provide a comprehensive overview of mastering relationship boundaries, blending psychological insights with practical guidance to empower individuals in their personal and professional lives. In a world teeming with diverse personalities and complex relationships, the ability to set healthy boundaries is not just a skill, but a necessity for personal growth and relational harmony. Thank you for joining us today. If you know of someone that would benefit from today's video, please share it with them. Like and subscribe to join us on a journey of discovery as we seek to understand the fundamental aspects of human behavior, emotions, cognition, and relationships. Stay curious, and until next time.